Republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Stephen.
Evening.
Hey, did you get a chance to look at the minutes?
I have.
Right. We'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion to accept as written.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, first thing on the agenda is the review and approval of contract modifications with HEB engineers for design and permitting of transfer station road bridge. Later on.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Good evening. So this, yeah, Chris Fournier with HEB Engineers, who've worked with the town of Canaan on bridges over the years. So this project was, or the scope of our work was developed with former town administrator Mike Sampson, and with the primary goal of proceeding with construction next year. That was the primary intent. So he had identified a bridge contractor, Hanson Bridge, that would proceed with fabrication of a bridge structure this winter, and then proceed with construction on site of the bridge replacement next year. And our design would be, quickly addressing the superstructure design so that he could begin that fabrication. And then while that was proceeding during the winter, get all the necessary natural and cultural permitting that would be needed for the site. So that way he could address the on-site construction, the summer and fall of next year. With the intent of an off alignment location for a new bridge. That way the new bridge could be constructed without affecting the old bridge, and maintenance of traffic would be continuous throughout that time.
There's one of the maintenance of existing structure is there's a pressure main for the sewer department that is relatively close by. That needs to be accounted for.
So my,
That line runs right next to the.
yeah,
Right,
all the
existing
rocks
bridge
are
right
on the right side.
Well,
So,
it's soft, maybe 12 or 14 feet away from the bridge.
yeah,
On the upriver side or downriver side?
yeah. Would you guys be putting the bridge over that area? Or, I mean, where are your thoughts on putting the bridge so we could keep it open?
Yeah, the intent when we met out on site with the contractor was to move it upstream.
Okay,
Okay, so the town's property actually bumps out up on the upstream side, so there wouldn't need to be an easement
so looking
on the
at the
abutter.
transfer station, it would be
on the left,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, so away from the sewer force main.
Okay,
Yep, because that was intended on being horizontally drilled, I think, at a future time with different
okay.
sources. Right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so willing to, any questions you may have for us to proceed?
Yeah, so in some of your estimates, you have test drills indicated. Don't we have any data from when we did the pressure line through there and had to dig it up and put a concrete bunker in there?
I would have said that was a number of years ago, and I would.
That was when I first got on, so that was 15 years.
But I mean, it would be the ground substrate hasn't changed in that time period. So if you're looking for bedrock depth and all that kind of stuff, wouldn't that still be available for us?
And if it is, could you use that? If we could locate that, could you use it?
It depends on what it is. There's different types of geotechnical investigations for different reasons. So if it,
Things have happened there since.
I don't remember that happening, because that was an emergency repair.
Well, it wasn't a repair, it was,
Oh,
yeah.
Rerouted or whatever.
No, we just, the thing of it is, the bridge got damaged and we noticed this pipe and it's like, how come this is
Right,
a
so,
sewer pipe? Basically, it was right out of the open in the brook.
okay. So then when the bridge was replaced or repaired,
Yeah, We
It
had,
was moved.
Remacle did the work, actually. He put the,
Okay, so Remacle, I mean, if we could come up with any of those records and those records found that you could use them, does that adjust this at all? I mean, it obviously would, right?
Of course,
And-
yep.
Um,
Yeah, because the intent is to actually get a drill rig out on site for a couple days.
okay,
Drill on each side of the bridge to, that way we understand what the soil structures are.
No, I don't.
probably didn't.
That didn't happen when Remacle,
no, not when he put that in.
no.
I don't believe that, none of that happened.
All right, okay.
I will check with Remaco.
Yeah, I was
to see
gonna say, give it
what they
Richard.
have.
Yeah, okay. What else you got?
Timing, I mean, I think the intent previously was to get our superstructure design to the contractor by the end of this year, so that way he could provide pricing to, sort of formalize pricing to the town.
Okay.
So that he could begin the fabrication. I think we're, a month behind where we intended to be at that point, for given authorization to proceed. And so we would just want to recap with him that his timing is still worthwhile.
Well, we just got this last meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This the modification.
Yeah, it's dated November 9th, so,
Yes. no,
Okay. okay.
All right, so if we decide to go with this, we need a motion to have Ned sign it.
Yes,
Might as well have you sign it since you'll
Yeah.
be here. So,
And,
have you looked it over, Stephen?
I read it today.
and I've read it over,
I don't know what else we're gonna do.
so, and really what this is, the original contract was a certain dollar amount, and this is a modification on that, correct?
Yeah, we're just piggybacking on we've done quite a bit of work for emergency reasons at that site for the town, so we're piggybacking on that contract. It's,
What is the total amount between the original and this year that we're talking about?
I do not know. I mean, that work has come and gone and been invoiced and paid.
Yeah, this only.
Long ago. Yeah,
Okay, I see.
yeah, we just try to keep it all together that way.
And there's additional.
It comes out of the bridge fund.
yes, it does.
So does that mean that part of this has been paid for already?
Not the
Not,
one,
not this. agreement.
Not this modification, but some of the
The
total
work
cost.
is, yeah, the other aspects of it are paid for.
Are there federal funds to help offset this cost to the town?
I believe this is federal funds, isn't it?
no, this
Or
is
state.
no federal funds involved, all us, because if we waited for federal funds, it would be 5 years or more before we got to the front of the line and got state funding for
There was
this.
no state fund that came out of it?
Maybe for the initial emergency.
I think it was.
Yeah, so when the former town administrator was pushing for an EDA grant,
Yeah.
to solve
Yeah.
attempt to solve all the village flooding issues, transfer station was negotiated as receiving partial state bridge aid funds
Yeah.
as part of the deal to make the EDA grant kind of work,
Mhm.
because the EDA grant was going to address a couple of the New Hampshire DNCR trestle bridges,
Mhm.
and the Department of Transportation can't, and DNCR didn't want to spend any money on those bridges. So they were swapping project share amounts. So that way the town funded the match of EDA grant funds for the snowmobile, for the trestles. And in return, the town, the money that was for state bridge aid on the transfer station bridges, the town share was reduced because they were spending money on the other ones. So it was there was at some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's not.
It's
a
a
long story,
very
yeah.
long story.
I've got time.
If, yeah,
The quick, the synopsis is, we can either wait for state bridge aid and the bridge will cost approximately, let's just say 1.5 million.
Mhm.
Or we can do it now by ourselves essentially. And it'll cost, let's just say, less than $1 million.
Okay.
The problem with waiting to the bridge aid is, we'll be waiting some number of years, 5 or so years.
Okay.
The other thing that we're doing to reduce it a little bit farther than the 1 million is we're going with I'll say non-standard, but a non-DOT approved bridge contractor who's gonna do it for lesser money. Okay, Hanson Bridges out of, they're out of Newport. They do the whole thing themselves. They do the engineering, the
Yeah.
I-beams, the whole 9 yards. Gonna have a wood deck. But I'll say non-certified, not meaning bad, but not with some like special seal on it from DOT. We can wait.
Has
But-
anyone showed any of us the reason why this bridge is the priority?
Well, the reason this one is a priority over the other ones is because it has to do with its upstream of the flooding. If we do, let's just say we do the trestle bridges or on the rail trail, okay? And we have a flood and something gets damaged upstream, those could potentially be destroyed by upstream flooding. So you want to start sort of upstream and move to downstream. The other thing is that this is a town road that goes across there to the transfer station and to
Yeah.
the face of our
Highway.
yeah.
But I guess my thoughts are, is it failing?
Yep.
It is?
Yeah,
It's failing, and the way they got us
The-
the
the-
chambers, it causes problems with flooding, that's the big thing.
Yeah, I saw that talking about
Each section is starting to move.
they're
up and
starting to
down.
buckle, so it's the bedrock underneath it that's
Yeah,
stuff's
well,
moving,
so
so.
when they see old years go.
And
it's failing.
I'm on board and I get it, but I feel like it's at least for myself, I want to ask these questions and I mean, because if there was a way that we could get it funded. But I get it, if it's time, it's time, you know?
Hanson do the Goose Pond Bridge?
Yep.
Yeah,
So how are they
How
not
about
DOT?
yeah, if I may clarify, Hanson Bridge is,
Yeah,
they're fine to do DOT work and they do bid on
Okay.
DOT work. What they're proposing for a superstructure is something that they're built to
So
build.
so. the
It's their
bridge is
specialty.
not A DOT standard, but Hanson is.
Correct.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
can follow DOT standards, but in this instance, they're providing, their specialty is a galvanized steel girder wood deck bridge.
so
That's what they do. Yeah.
if we go with something that's not DOT approved, basically. And then 10 years from now, we have an issue with that bridge, does that make us exempt from getting any funding to fix it?
No. So ultimately, when the project is done, we will issue forms to DOT for their acceptance of the project.
And they
Okay,
can
they don't have,
UAMA it.
yeah, they don't, well, no, but we know what they need to see.
Okay.
They don't have approval or denial of the way you build your bridge. It's your bridge,
Okay,
right? It's a town. bridge.
providing it's built by certain standards and then they come in and make sure that was done that way.
They don't do that at all. It is the town's bridge. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really the documents we would provide to them is really just for record keeping on their end.
So I have one other question. I know nothing about this stuff, so I'm just kind of trying to learn at your expense, and I apologize for that.
No,
But he mentioned something about the bedrock is starting to buckle under this bridge. But I think we were talking about using 10-year-old information about the substructure or
Yeah,
substrate of.
we don't have that information.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, but
and good
correct me if
call.
I'm wrong, but though, that bridge is like a concrete
Yeah,
culvert type.
yeah,
thing,
right,
and it's
right.
three
There's
sections,
sections, three,
so,
one section.
and the bridge that's going in is a full span,
Right,
so it won't, the bedrock won't affect it.
no.
No.
Right, so exactly, this new one won't have anything to do with the bed of that brook at all. It's gonna basically be, I think it was 70 feet on each side of it. Away with pillars, headers, and then it's gonna span over the top of it, so it's gonna rise up. Which I agree with the design and the process, I just feel like I needed to at least kind of ask some questions. I want to, make sure that we're not exempt from getting any funding in the future. And I remember well the conversation that we all had here. I'm the one that was saying I was down there walking under the thing. I agree it needs to be replaced. I agree with Bob that it is a priority in the fact that we've got a lot of things across there that we need to get to.
Yeah.
It can't be a bridge that fails. So
Everything that we do to treat our roads is over there.
comes from there.
The storage treatment
The
plan.
sewer is there and the trash is there. I mean, that's.
Yeah, and just to update you, I mean, the town is receiving bridge funds from the state and the federal government on 2 other projects. So you are getting a good amount of the funding that's out there now. Potato Road was in the state bridge aid, is in the state bridge aid program and just received an influx of federal funds. So the town's share of construction of that bridge has been reduced from 20% to 0. Okay, so that's a good thing on that part of it. And then the Grist Mill Hill Road Bridge,
Right.
which has yet to really start, again, received a similar influx of federal funds. So the town's share of construction will be 0. The town will only be responsible for 20% of the design.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know anything about the bridge going on over there. Is that a wood deck? Is that what?
Transfer station?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the intent, is a steel girder wood deck.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's part of the,
Is there any reason why we're going with a wood deck? I mean, we got a wood deck bridge on Potato Road. We have to, since I've been here, we've gone and put screws in it half a dozen times to hold the planes down.
yeah, I think that's part of the reduction of the initial cost is that.
Is that what we're doing to keep the cost down?
That's what the former
Yeah.
administrator found as an ability to keep
You
the
gotta
cost.
understand, we drive a lot of heavy equipment over the bridge
Yeah.
too, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Yes.
last storm, we probably went in there, how many times did you and Dale go load up?
Yeah.
You know, and our
Oh.
trucks are coming out of there heavy.
Yeah,
Yep, so the design of the bridge will be to take care of any of those loads that are required, the heavy loads. Okay,
because it has girders underneath it.
yeah, and we can design it strong enough, definitely. Wood does move around more than a concrete deck though, yes.
Yes.
So does
Um,
that mean that we would be replacing that wood deck periodically?
Yes, over the lifespan of the bridge, yes.
And those are the things, that's why I asked, and it's that stuff exactly is why I asked. And want to make sure that we don't end up somehow being exempt from, if we need some funds. I want to make sure that they don't come back to us and say, listen, because you did this bridge and you did it that way. You're on your own.
Are we saving more money going with a wood deck just to upfront, just to pay more money to own that bridge through the life of it?
That's what I'm saying.
You know, for as far as maintenance goes on it, you know, we're replacing the lumber, you know, everything's going up. I mean, some things, concrete, asphalt, it's.
Yeah.
Less maintenance. I mean, you don't really do any.
You think, remember, we're saying wood, but it's really a glue, a composite resin that's embodied into the wood deck. I just want to make sure, is that what we're still going with?
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a glued laminated deck, which the glue is not impregnated into the wood, it's gluing pieces of wood together to make them stronger.
Yeah. So we'll have a little, it's not like it's gonna be.
Like
sim-
pine boards.
Yeah, it's not like, hemlock decking
Like,
that's
I
gonna
like
chip.
check and building structure, like the glue lamb beams that are engineered, is that basically, we're just laying them down?
Laying them down.
How thick?
On this, I believe it's 5 3/4.
Wow.
The more modern way to address wood deck bridges as well is we do actually pave them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh,
So we put a base course of pavement, which is sloped to get water off of it. And then we have a barrier membrane that we would apply on top of the pavement. And then a wearing course of pavement on top of that.
so
Oh,
just
so
a
we're
frame
not-
is gonna be, the decking subfloor is just wood, and then you're paving over the top of it.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah, we're putting a roof on the wood, to keep the wood
Yeah.
as dry as we can and make it last as long as we can.
I will tell you, I'm glad you said that because there's no one that can hear your voice right now.
Okay. We haven't started the design yet, so.
There's a contractor going, telling me we're putting laminated boards on there, doesn't make me more happy.
For service wood deck brick.
that's what I was saying.
You gotta cap it with asphalt and everything, that totally changed it, because that is one of your highest traveled bridges in
Sure.
this town.
And I grew up on Goose Pond Road, and before that bridge was replaced, was a wood bridge that was wood. There was no cap over the top of it, it was wooden boards. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
Yeah, I was thinking.
you're telling me laminate instead of solid. So anyways, perfect.
Yeah, and in the instance where you did have, if you did have state bridge aid funds, we would, propose probably a more longer lasting thing, because if somebody,
Right.
if there's an agency that's participating in the high initial cost,
Sure.
that's the way to reduce the town's long-term maintenance costs.
Yeah.
But
No, I have a better understanding on a few different levels now, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Steven, did you have any questions?
Yeah, Chris, how confident you're with the estimate of 113? There's a 15% contingency fee. I'm just curious if you expect to go over and run into the 130 range for that. So I know you don't expect to, but
I'm not aware of a 15% contingency on this. That is a lump sum. So that is the cost for us for
okay.
those services.
All right, I thought I saw in well, let me just find it, but
There's no upcharges and add-ons and extras. That's what it costs.
No, I mean, we clearly state our assumptions. So as the permitting process goes through, we don't anticipate any historical concerns by those permitting agencies or archaeological concerns at that site. We don't anticipate those, so those aren't included at this point. If those agencies do raise those concerns, then we would have to bring in specialty consultants. But we don't expect that, so we did not include it, correct? Yeah,
Okay.
so if you want to read the assumptions, that's really where we clearly state the parts that aren't included.
That's
okay.
One of them, yes, yeah. On page 4 of 5 in the exhibit A. Can you keep going. Assumptions.
No services, understandable. Okay. Because, I can sit at my house and look on my computer and read through this, but if I don't really understand what part I'm reading with the conversation.
Yeah.
it's just
That's
blah,
what,
blah, blah, blah,
that's why I
blah,
wanted to
blah,
come
blah.
in today.
Yeah, glad you did, yeah. And that's a good catch on Stephen's part too. Okay. Good.
All right, you have any other questions?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
okay, so I
Thank you.
need a motion to have Ned sign it. You all set, Steven? Okay. So did you make the motion?
I was gonna ask Stephen, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to have Ned sign it.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, Ned, there you go.
The reason I say that is because he's online, so I want to try not to talk over him. every
Yeah.
time we have some other options.
There's a lot of use, is it gonna be closed down?
No,
Oh, he said no.
Okay,
they're moving the bridge upstream.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so with the intent to keep that open, Ellen.
How close are we to the property corner of where the town side of the bridge? How close are we to the corner of the tracks property? Is there, that fence comes in pretty close there, doesn't it?
Yeah, the fence is actually on town property, we believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but by quite a distance.
Right.
Yeah.
Not feet, right?
Yeah.
But it comes down.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks.
Yes, thanks for having me,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
All right, next thing on the agenda. Proposed water line improvements along Moose Mountain Road to be done by Enfield.
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Good, how you doing?
Here again, huh?
Nope.
Yeah, you don't have to pay me tonight, though.
Yeah, perfect, man.
You got one of these, Ed?
Yes, thank you.
So Mike Duffy with Horizons Engineering, and I'm here tonight for representing the town of Enfield. And we're doing a project for the town to replace a water main, 12-inch water main that comes down from the Enfield Reservoir So the Enfield Reservoir is in Canaan. As is one of their well, it's called the Marsh Well Site. Is up off of Moose Mountain Road. And the water main used to go from the reservoir all the way down to the town, similar to the town of Canaan supply, where there was a pipe years ago that reservoir supplied the water for the town of Enfield. Which is part of the reason why it's a 12-inch pipe, just like your pipe was a larger diameter than kind of what standards are nowadays.
Yeah.
It used to be gravity flow all the way from that reservoir down to the town of, down into Enfield Village, essentially. So years ago, I'm not sure exactly when from that reservoir, but they went off the surface water supply. So that was surface water and they weren't treating it. So they went off of that and they went to wells for their supply. So a portion of that pipe, however, is still in use because they have wells. They have a well out there right now. We're working with the town to put a second well in also as
At the reservoir?
it's below the reservoir, but it's on they own two parcels out there. One parcel, well, they have an existing well. And then the parcel a little further up street, they have a parking area there. It's where you can park and walk to the reservoir.
Sure.
So you may know that spot
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
So what they had done back over 100 years ago is they went from the reservoir, essentially a beeline cross country until they came into a small building out there that they have. And then they followed the roadway, Maple Street, the rest of the way down to town. So there's a portion, maybe a couple thousand feet, 1,500 feet or so, that is cross country. And a portion of that area is within the town of Canaan on Moose Mountain Road. So what they'd like to do for a number of reasons is get the pipe out into the roadway so that they'd be able to, for the most part, be able to know where it is and access it, 24/7 instead of having it kind of out in the cross-country area. So this plan set that I'm dropping off, this is our plan set. We actually have this project out to bid right now. And you can kind of look through this. The location plan gives you an overview. You can kind of see where we're in Enfield and where we pop into Canaan. And then sheet, when you get into the sheet 204 is the start of the length that we show being within the town of Canaan. So Maple Street is paved up to the town of Canaan line and we're a gravel roadway from there, from there going out. So what we'd like to do is, as you see on this plan, you can see the water main. What we want to do from on Maple Street, where it's paved, we want to try to stay out of the pavement as much as we can. And so we do have some room out there with the right of way width to be able to put the water main pretty far off the edge of the roadway. When we come into Canaan, we would like to move into the travel way.
When you come on to the gravel.
Yeah, when we get to the gravel roadway, we would just swing the pipe out into the roadway. And there's some reasons there. If you can look at this sheet, you can see the poles, the right of way where we believe the right of way is located. It would be very difficult to get it off the road completely. And then the other thing is because gravel roads, you regrade them on a regular basis. We don't worry as much about it being in the road and having the, any trench settlement or things like that. So let's see, it's from station 45 up to around 55-ish. So it's about 1,100 feet or so that we would like to put the new water main within the town's right of way on Moose Mountain Road.
So you're talking station 45 is just past the pavement.
Yep.
55.
It's up around 55. We're actually going to go into the site a little bit before their gravel driveway entrance. That's kind of a newer, we kind of checked the property out where the easiest place to put the water main. So we'd probably go up around to station 55, 5550 here on the plan. It's about 1,000 feet. Yep.
Mike,
So-
are those houses already on that water supply?
There's one house that's currently on the water supply right now, and that's gonna be lot. It's the first lot along the way, Martin. So he's familiar with the project. So the existing 12-inch pipe like goes behind his house. Between his house and there's a big wetlands over there. I don't know if you know the area.
I do.
But and so what we would do is we'd give him a new service off of this pipe.
Okay.
And we'd run it to his house. And connect it up to whatever he has there. After that was done, from the shut off end would be his property. But we wouldn't leave him without water service because he's on that pipe right now. And I
Would
believe
they
the other
require
thing,
the other residents to join the water supply?
I've been told that if any additional people in Canaan would like to hook on, they would allow that to happen, hook on to the Enfield system.
And how many people is that? How many residents currently?
There might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There might be 5 properties along there. The lots get bigger out there. I don't believe any of those 5 people, other than the one I just mentioned, is on the water main right now. So
But they
those would
wouldn't
be,
they wouldn't be required to join it because the main is right in front of their house?
they would not be required now to hook onto the water main. And in fact, we probably wouldn't put the service across the roadway unless they asked for service, because we wouldn't want to put one in and just have it sit there with nobody using it. But if any of those residents along the water main route wanted to hook in to the town of Enfield water system, they would allow that to happen.
So going up the hill, Mark's is on the right there.
Yeah,
And you go up the hill, then there's a place right at the base of the hill. And then you go up and the Reservoir Road is on the right, and there's a big white farmhouse there.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So those are in Canaan.
Yeah, so we're not going quite that far though.
Okay, we're staying this side of the Reservoir Road.
Yeah, yeah, the last one would be
It states it on here.
Maple Street Enfield Acquisition LLC. I'm not sure who that is.
Oh,
So
I see.
Keith Fashi.
Yeah,
So it looks like 2 of these are owned by, I'm not sure who that is, but
and-
an LLC.
okay.
I'm trying to recollect if there's a couple houses, there might be a couple trailers off on some of these lots up there.
Yeah, okay, now I'm following you now, it actually says the revenue. Okay. Understood. And then this. Is this line that comes up and across here and back over, is that the proposal of where the pipe would go?
The proposed line is where it says a darker line and it says 8-inch W.
8W.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, if you look right on top of the sheet, same sheet 2.4, you can see where, right under where it says Maple Street. On the view above this one, the
Yeah,
bottom one,
Okay, yep,
Maple Street. So that's in Enfield, and you see where there's a line coming in from the right that says W. That's the existing 12-inch water main, and it goes through that building right there. That was an old pressure reducing station or something, check valve in there. So that was an old water infrastructure facility, and the water does still run there. The water does run through that smaller line with the W on it. That's a 12-inch water main. And so part of our design too is to avoid conflict with that as well. But that's where the existing water main comes back into the roadway, is right at that location. So that's about 3750 up to. So that's about 700 feet into Enfield. So it's that pipe, that W with the narrower line, that's the pipe that's going away and off the roadway that they really want to get rid of.
behind Mark's house and up that way.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And you're wanting to replace it with 8W that runs straight up the side.
That's in the roadway right away, yeah. Exactly.
And then where it would come into our road is just before 47. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's station 45 plus 50 about is the town line between Enfield and Canaan, looking at that sheet on the bottom view. So gravel is shown like a speckly dots, and then pavement's shown just like as a shaded.
Yeah.
That's where it switches.
It looks like, and this may be all. No point in this, but just, it looks like that water line is off the side. Of the gravel portion until it gets. To, 45.7 or whatever, just before 46 is where it actually comes into the road, is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we'll be 100 feet up or so to get before we move out
Start
in.
moving out into the road.
Yeah.
Mike, what kind of road reconstruction do they guarantee afterwards?
Well, the typical specification is that it has to be restored to a condition at least equal to what's existing. So what we would do in here, we would have them remove the gravels. And so if there's 18 inches of gravel, we put 18 inches back. If there was 24, we'd put 24. If there were 12, we put 18. Our typical section is 12 inches of bank run gravel and 6 inches of crushed gravel. So if they, we'd make sure if they contaminated up the road a little bit, we need to have them scrape it off and put some more to make the surface. If they contaminated that soil for some reason, we would have them restore it, clean it up and restore it to a good condition.
So you said this is out to bid right now.
It is out to bid right now, yeah.
What is your projected start?
Next spring, summerish, yeah, so the intent would be to get it done next year.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the possibility of putting a couple hydrants on that line?
There will be 2 hydrants. There's going to be one put very close to the Enfield Canaan town line. You can see it on this plan right here. And then we'll also put another hydrant up where we go into the site. Yeah, so there'll be two hydrants. And again, I think that the town of Enfield would say, well, certainly, you could use this for firefighting purposes if you need to. Now, the pressure, there's pretty good flow at the town line. I'd say the hydrant up entrance into their property is probably about 500 gallons a minute. So it's still pretty good, but not, not.
Better than what's there now.
It's a lot better than what's there now, yeah. Yeah. And plus there'd be a hydrant at the town line, so that one would be available for use too.
All right, so what do you need from us?
Well, that's a good question on how to document this. I was thinking about that tonight even. Yeah.
I have a motion written out already. And that may I suggest it?
Yeah.
Motion to permit work within the town of Canaan right away for about 1,000 feet from the Enfield town line to a gravel driveway per design plans from Horizon Engineering.
That's,
And
yeah, and then there'll be the caveats in there, restoring it back to the specific depths and.
Mhm.
Sort of stuff.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Seems to me. Not necessarily based on state law, but maybe this should be planning board review. Before you guys make that motion.
What's your basis?
Just. Involving road construction, involving, there are a number of issues here. that, Under normal circumstances, be part of a planning board review.
What's your timeline to have us?
Well, there's no road construction or subdivision proposed or, I mean,
don't see a planning commission use here or concern or authority that they have within the public right of way for an infrastructure. I mean, if this was, let's just say this was in the village, the planning commission would have little or no say.
And at the end of the day, we're gonna see no difference. After the construction is done, the road will look just like it does now.
certainly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe hopefully a little better ditching and some. like that.
Might actually be a good time for us to upgrade that road a little bit.
Now, one thing we are doing is we're replacing the culverts, just because we're going along. The town does plan not next year, but they do plan on their portion to come in and grind the road. We're gonna let the project be done and the services put in and everything, all the digging done, leave it over next winter. And then the town is gonna come in, I think under a separate outside of, this is an SRF project, just like the town's was, so it's funded through the state. I think they're gonna come in next year and repave that road. They're gonna So as a part of this job, we are replacing the culverts in the town of Enfield section of roadway. I don't know how many there are in the Canaan section here. There might be.
Two, three. There's should be 3 culverts in that section that you're gonna be digging up. There's one just beyond Mark Martin's is.
Yeah, I don't show any, but it doesn't mean that there aren't any. I just would have to go out and.
Be a nice thing for infield to throw into the field.
So what we typically require with the water projects is that if we dig through a culvert, a lot of times the culverts are in need of replacement anyways, and so we'll replace it because you can't really just repair a 10-foot. So, that's what I would like to get from you guys. Anything that you would kind of like written specifically up, i.e. The town of Canaan will be allowed to utilize the fire hydrants. If you want to put some of this stuff in writing, then, this would be the time to kind of write it up. So, they'd want to have probably something written in there that says they have the right to maintain it. So if there was a break or maybe one of these people wanted a service that, well, they could come in and they'd be given permission to run the service across the road too then.
So you're talking like a contract of some sort from the town of Enfield?
No, we actually have probably 7 or 8 contractors expressing interest. Which, we typically bid this stuff out in March,
Sure.
but not the market's all changed,
My point is, if Enfield is responsible for this, are you saying we should have a contract with them stating that they are such?
Well, just for the future, it's not so much about putting it in. The contractor will be, responsible during the construction piece of it and for a certain length of time after.
It's like usage going forward.
Yeah, but it's just an understanding that, well, the pipe is there now and, that the hydrants are there. Even like, let's say if any of these local individuals adjacent want to get water service, that the town would accommodate that. One thing that I was thinking about is that when we do a project in a DOT road, they actually have what's called an excavation permit. And that identifies a bunch of different things about like repairing pipe or maintaining traffic and, and if you guys would like, what I could do, maybe work with Ned and I could write up some sort of like a trench permit, so that you've given them permission to do what we've shown on these plans essentially.
I like that idea. And if Bob can give us a count of culverts as well, so.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was writing down in my notes is, one of the things that I don't want to be responsible is, let's just say in the future, there's a break in the line and it washes out the road.
Yeah, we don't want.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Any repair, maintenance or cost associated with anything to do with that water line from here until eternity is not our responsibility.
Yep.
I'm all about getting them their upgrade. I think it's a smart idea. All the above. Another thing that I'm concerned about is I don't want any of our residents. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that they can decide to opt into this and before, right, it's done, so we can run the line, but I don't want them to at some point be forced to have to do that if they don't want to. Part of our job is to advocate for the residents, and if we've got somebody who's got a well that's working perfectly fine, they shouldn't be forced
So-
because Enfield can get water bill.
He brings up a good point there. You said that when the water line goes through the Canaan portion of town, they're not putting hookups in, correct? Only if requested by the people?
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
You don't same thing. Somebody might, when their well craps out 5 years from now or 10 years from now, say, hey, I want to go on the water system now. But you don't really want to have that service pipe, which is active over to the property line,
Right.
turned on all the time and never having a drop of water come out of
If
it.
you're you're on the opposite side of the road, you're gonna have to tear the road up to put the.
You would have to dig across the road either way at that point in time.
So is there a deadline when they can decide whether or not they want it, or it's just?
To hook in,
Yeah.
I would think it's at their discretion, if and when, I mean,
And then that again would be something that, you know. A concern where if we have a Canaan resident that 5 years from now, their well goes dry and they're like, well. Nice, the water line's right there and they opt to do it. Would that be any responsibility or cost or anything to do with us to tear the road up and put it back together?
I'd say no.
Right.
No.
And so
Be up to the
we want to
homeowner.
make sure that that's something that we've covered our bases on as well. Right?
Yep.
Just anything going forward with it. And again, I'm not being argumentative. I agree with it. I think it's a good upgrade. But I don't think that, you know, we need to cover our bases
I
going
think
forward.
before we make any motions, we do need to have something written up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more specific.
Yeah, I mean, this for me helps me. It's like, yeah, everything looks good. And then here's what we need to do to get it formalized essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so the town of Enfield, just like you guys, if someone built a house somewhere. Or had a property and they're not on the water system and said, hey, I want to hook on. You probably have a fee, a connection fee,
Yeah.
and then they have to pay for the. For the piping,
Right.
or it's a part of the connection fee, and then they pay for any piping on their own property as well. But I mean, this water infrastructure wouldn't have anything to do with the town of Canaan, other than you gave them permission to put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's it.
And
And
that's
then-
what we want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Very good.
good.
Question?
I would say just touch base back and forth with Ned some.
Yeah.
We'll get the kind of the details put together.
You good, Steven?
Now, I know I'm not on the agenda for anything else, but can I flip my hat around and the water project and just kind of give you an update quick on that, or do you want to wait till a little later, or it's up to you guys?
We got a lot of other stuff. to do.
Okay. We're in good shape.
That's a good update.
You have $197,000 out of the 550 that's not spent or earmarked for anything yet. We are given a proposal, I've been trying to put it together, and that to do some other design work for other projects, so that is coming. But you have 197,000 out of the 550.
Pay for the bridge over.
I don't know if you could do that or not, but.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, next thing on the agenda is encumbrances for expenditures that were supposed to be done this year, but will be carried over into next year. Do you want to go through those? Ned?
Yes, I'll go through them very quickly. It was the paving for $90,000. The next one, there was the hazardous waste disposal. It's an ongoing thing. The police had encumbered money for the to outfit, actually, let me jump ahead. A couple, hang on, let me get to the right order. Where'd they go?
The actual vehicles are the last one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, encumber money to purchase two police vehicles, then several purchase orders to outfit the cruisers in various forms. And then the final encumbrance is to purchase two ballistic vests for the officers.
So we've got 3 purchase orders here to encumber money to outfit 2 cruisers. Why do we need 3 purchase orders for that?
I would have to ask the chief for that one, but my understanding is,
And $41,000 to outfit a cruiser?
yeah.
So we outfit it with, how much?
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so that's part of the stuff that I haven't noticed it, right, is we've got this initial cost of the cruiser. And that's one of the things we were discussing about, like, when they're giving us trade-ins and stuff,
Well,
right?
this
They
makes
give us
more
this-
sense, this number.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing here is it's like that $41,501 is split for two
two
cruisers.
cruisers,
So it's 20,000 something a piece to outfit them.
yes.
So basically, when we go buy a cruiser, we buy a bare bones cruiser and they sell that to us at 45 grand and everybody thinks, boy, that's not a bad deal.
But this is,
And it ends up costing 70 grand by the time you're done.
Yeah.
this is encumber money to outfit 2 cruisers
Right,
for 41,000. Then it says encumber money to outfit 2 cruisers for 43. You get different
4,300. Huh?
You got different account numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so I understood that to be different suppliers.
Different
Done.
deal.
Right.
One is, you know, radios, one is the associated other equipment, the shackles. Yeah,
Yeah.
pages. It ends up the computer systems, the extra radio systems.
Yeah,
So to Dan's point, I would like to know how much of that equipment actually has to be replaced every time we replace a cruiser. It seems like the computer system should last longer than a car does. I mean.
and so some part of it's gonna last longer. I mean, do we have to put new lights? I mean, I know the lights are ridiculous amounts of money these days. Bob, what do you pay for one set of those whirly lights on that truck?
If you buy it through local vendors, you can pay up to $5,000.
Right, which is insane,
It is.
right? So if there's, and we've got it, and like one of the points that we were talking about as a board, when we're talking about trading these vehicles in, they kind of, I mean, it's that game that the car dealers play and all of these vendors play is, you know, we're gonna make it look good. You're buying a $45,000 rig. They offer us $3,000 for our cruiser on a trade-in. And then we've got to put another $30,000 per cruiser into it,
What's the useful life of a cruiser?
like 5 years.
5 years or
Yeah.
so.
5 years.
And that's.
No, it's a little bit longer than that because I think it's 6 or 7 because of how many cruises we have. We basically have a plan to buy one every year, so.
Because that was the deal. When they asked for the 6 cruiser, we said you have to make them last so that we replace one a year. So we went for 5 cruisers that lasted 5 years.
Okay, 6 cruisers, 6 years per is, yeah, so. Not enough to get 60 grand worth out of, really. I mean, it's, you know, cost us $10,000 or $12,000 a year by the time we're done. And
Well,
that's
I think
that's
it-
without maintenance.
I think in like my world with the police or even the fire department, we're not going to a local dealership and buying what's on the lot. So these are specifically built.
Right.
So the cost isn't relevant to what you, the consumer, are getting at your local automotive store.
Right.
I mean, you look at the interior of the cruisers, the seats aren't even, you can't go to Lebanon Ford and buy an Explorer with that interior.
Understood.
Yeah, so it's totally different and it's, and I think we tend to miss that point, you know?
And I wonder, Bob, right, so that's, I honestly, when I'm sitting here wondering what their outfitting needs with, does it mean that they removed? Do we buy a
You pretty much-
Ford Explorer, then you remove the back seat and you put that hard seat in? Then you put all the glass in the cage in it, then you put the shackle restraints, then you put the computer systems. So,
Hey, Dan, it sounds like you've been in a police cruiser before. I never have, so.
Steven, I'm not, in the room, I've been in them several times, yes. I have. It
It's
was in
just
the
like,
front seat of the joyride.
the fire chief, we buy a chassis and then we outfit that chassis.
Yeah,
So it's not the same world. So I think
Right.
we tend to miss that. So, yeah,
it's a lot of money.
So like with me, if I just had a regular dump truck, it's gonna be worth more on a trade-in than my plow trucks. Because of the life that they've lived.
Right.
You're trying to trade a cruiser and it's an Explorer, but if it had the nice XLT package and cloth seats, it's probably worth $10,000 or $12,000, but it doesn't.
And I think part of where I was going with that trade-in statement is, you know, there's been some thought in my mind. About possibly not trading some of these vehicles in and keeping them for other uses in town. If we're only getting a few grand for a vehicle that we've just paid Guy. You know, we pay him a salary, yeah, but you break that salary down on how much time he spends on each piece of equipment he's working on. We spent a fair amount of money on some of these cruises to get them up to speed, where now they're in pretty decent operating condition. So maybe as we go further, we don't think about how easy it is just to trade that rig for $3 grand. We can put that to much better use, and that's probably getting off the rails, but that's just a thought process that I've been having as a way to get more bang for our buck out of some of these rigs instead of just passing them off.
So I think if I understand what you're suggesting that we not trade these vehicles in, we keep them and then try to retrofit them back to something we could use. So wouldn't we have to invest money in that?
Not
to do it?
suggesting it, just kind of
Right,
a
just
thought
thought
process
about
of
it.
it.
And
Right.
we're kind of getting off topic here.
Yeah,
So
so you're
just
right.
just
Kind of
to
leaning there to see if it's an option.
Right, right,
confusion
right.
here,
Okay.
these are written on purchase orders. We're really not signing purchase orders. We're voting to encumber these funds to next year.
So, yeah, so
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean we're spending any of this amount of money. Depending on what happens, but we will have it available without having to add it to the 2023 budget.
correct.
It's already been
Right.
placed for it. And I guess I'd like to clear something up, is I'm not against outfitting the cruisers. They obviously need to be done. I've learned a ton from Bob on how we need to outfit our vehicles for the specific need. I am saying that it just seems like an awful lot of money. And I
Well,
don't-
we should be able to get an itemized list of what the
I-
upgrades are, you know, the outfitting costs are.
I mean, because if you look at the paving one, it has a list of where, you know, where the paving is going.
Right.
And the disposal one, you have a list of what needs to be paid for, and then it's just encumber money for cruisers, so. I think
I would,
we need a motion to encumber the money. And then we need a detail before we sign purchase orders.
an itemized list of.
Yeah,
What's going on to the cruisers and how much it costs.
You got it.
Ellie,
Yeah, the cruisers, I don't really care about the rest of it, but the cruisers, were authorized in a warrant article, Article 5 from last year.
yeah,
So it doesn't, my understanding was that I thought that when we appropriated money for a cruiser, that included the money to equip it. I didn't think that that was a separate thing. And
So-
then the other thing is if it was already authorized and it was taken out of capital reserve, it's a special warrant article and it doesn't lapse. So is it necessary to have an encumbrance on a warrant article that doesn't lapse?
well, I believe the problem was the cruisers are not available, correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
be there,
Right.
because it should be in the capital reserve. So.
Is it?
why do you think you have money in the capital reserve is what I'm trying to figure out. I thought you only encumbered money from the general fund.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? We've already appropriated the money. It's sitting there waiting for the cruises to show up. And it doesn't last because the special warrant article, which includes the capital reserve, either going in or coming out, does not last. So there should be no reason to encumber the money unless you have to encumber the money for the equipment. But I thought the cost of the cruiser was included, I mean, the equipment was included in that warrant article.
How much does it say in there, Ellie, right? Do you have it handy? How much it was approved? So that 76, right?
Yeah.
So that would be,
You shouldn't have to encumber it. I mean,
right,
that's Gloria or DRA, but my understanding is because it doesn't last, and you can look it up in the law, but they have to change that.
So would that need to be on a new warrant this year?
It's not last, so that money is still sitting in capital reserve, so it's already encumbered.
it's already there, it's already encumbered.
So you can only use it for that purpose and it's been authorized already.
Good. And you're saying, so it's already set, we don't have to encumber it again, right?
But we would have to put it on a warrant article, wouldn't we? Ellie, I can't hear you.
Yeah, you can't spend it on anything else.
He's saying we already had a warrant article, Stephen, which means that the money is sitting in capital reserve now. So her belief is it doesn't need to be encumbered again, it's already there.
You only encumber
And,
it.
can you reach out to DRA and just verify that, please?
I will reach out to the TRA, but that is only the 76,000. That's
Right.
only purchasing the vehicle. It's not
It's not out.
outfitting the vehicles.
Yeah.
That's my question, because it doesn't say in here whether it includes the outfitting or not, but I was under the assumption that it did include it,
Understood.
okay? That part I don't question.
Clearly does not include outfitting, and I will check with the,
in the past, we've encumbered money for vehicles
correct,
that was already voted on.
correct.
So I would do so.
I would recommend.
It's not against the law and it's not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah,
It's only gonna save
yeah.
save it going forward. I understand what you're saying, Ellie.
No, I'm just saying, it's another process. is my-
Yeah.
So we need a motion to encumber the funds that are requested.
You don't want to keep working out of the general fund because you're already taking it out, but
Yeah,
you don't want to. do
no, I get it, but
And so I would put a motion to encumber the funds requested.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye. And I would also ask, I'm guessing we don't need a motion or whatever, but I do want to get some sort of an item.
Yeah, no, that's just a request, that's
Yeah.
fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, update and hearing scheduled for the 2023 budget.
The draft 23 budget was approved by the committee last Thursday night. There will be a meeting on January 11th at 7:30 PM and the public hearing the next night, January 12th, at 7:30 PM.
That's here.
That will be here. And that will be the hearing on the budget committee having a hearing on the proposed 2023 budget.
So January 12th is the public hearing where
Yeah.
everyone can come and listen.
People are welcome to come on the 11th, see the prelim,
We should go.
and yes,
Just make sure you post it, if you're gonna all be there, that you post it.
Yeah.
Because that way you can't, if you need to vote on, you do that in case you have to vote on something. Sometimes there's something that comes up at the last minute, and so, if you need to vote on something, it's good idea to post it so that you can do that.
actually, just a quick FYI, because we were talking about posting on the website. We have been having problems with the website. I apologize. Both Ellie and I have stumbled across less than appropriate content on our website. It is not the website. It is the server that it's hosting our stuff. We're working with our computer people. We apologize in advance. If you see anything that's clearly not Town of Canaan, don't click on it. Just exit your browser and oh no, the stuff was wildly inappropriate. Like,
Yeah,
I thought we were hacked, and
Yeah.
we've changed passwords just in case.
okay.
We've,
After you get a second email, because it happened again.
oh yeah, it happened
But-
again to me
So
also.
this
Yeah.
will be posted in a lot more places than just on the website.
Yes, it will be, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Everybody should be aware from what, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we post any of these public meetings, they're all posted on the board at the town office.
Yeah,
as
as
well.
well.
It has to be.
So
Post office, right?
Now, there's one inside the building and one outside the building
on that,
on the,
on the
Yeah.
board.
and
Okay,
then I always send out a notice a night or two in
Okay.
advance, so people know that, it's
Okay.
from the newsletter system.
okay.
So did you,
Yes, because I post those too, so they're covered under the law, so it doesn't matter what happens on the town website, because we have two
right,
legitimate
That's it.
postings, and
That's
and that's just redundant, so it doesn't matter to us. I just make sure I do it twice.
and did you have a number,
What?
the bottom line for the budget?
Yeah, I do,
Yeah,
except that I think it's screwed up, but I didn't vote for it, so I don't care.
When have you ever voted for it, Ellie?
What?
Have you ever voted for it?
Not in the last 15 years. no.
Right.
That's my job.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is Roger Lohr.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah, because you can't post the meeting agenda, it'd be nice if you put my name on this mailing you're talking about so I can get an agenda sent to me.
okay, Roger, I'll put you on tomorrow.
Thank you, Buzz.
Okay. 4-1.
Yeah.
636.
Mhm.
050.
Yeah.
0.79. That's the amount we voted for.
Okay,
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Did you hear that, Stephen?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, that's right.
Thanks, Dan.
No, that's okay.
Right. And you want to talk briefly about the default budget?
The default budget is what happens if the budget is rejected by the voters on town meeting. And the select board decides not to have a revote or a secondary special town meeting.
Yeah.
That's the default, and what it means is it falls back to what they call the default, but default would be the 2022 fiscal year budget, or happens to be a calendar year. And it eliminates raises, eliminates all non-discretionary one-time funding. So like most capital projects would go away and things like that. However, loan payments and continuing obligations do
Right.
not go away. So like the loan payments on the grader will not go away. Yeah, standard operating things do not go away, but it still is approximately, I don't know, it's $300,000 or $400,000 less than our proposed budget, so it would be a fairly big pinch to get to fit in that,
Yeah,
in that hole.
be so tough to operate.
Any questions? All right, sewer plant and septic. ponds. I'm here.
Go for it.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Well, I got, before John speaks, and John, why don't you come forward, but anyway, I want to commend John. He has worked very hard over the last couple of weeks in the transition from Mike's regime to the new.
Good new
regime.
deal.
I'll say, and he's really stepped it up. I want to thank him publicly. He's
Yeah.
done a great job. He has gotten the I will say people from Concord off my back, and they used to email me a couple of times a day saying what's going on. Now they barely email me once a week, so I say thank you.
Well,
Thank you, John.
John, it's
the-
all you.
well, hey, for 8 years, I mean, I've run the plant for 10 years. For 8 years, we had the same inspector, it was Tim Sweat.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Concord decided they were gonna replace him with 4 engineers, plus a new oversight engineer. So basically 5 people that are basically desk people that are in Concord. And I don't like to, that's not the derogatory or anything else. So they came up the last 2 times and did inspections. And the last inspection, during the first inspection, there was nothing happening at the plant. The last inspection, we were both cleaning the pits, and then I had operators coming in and offloading. So everything that they saw, they didn't like, but they didn't say anything to me there. Basically, they came back and said, well, we didn't like this, and we didn't like that, and we didn't like this, and we didn't like that. And that's the way it's been operating for that long. And I'm not saying it would to change anything. That's what the way it was operating before that. So I mean, that's the thing. And then they came out with this notice of I can't remember exactly how they use their terms.
It wasn't violation, but all I remember was the $40,000 in the last.
Yeah.
sentence.
So I mean, so what they did, they gave me a list of like 10 things to do. And I've done 8 of the 10 things. Basically, we're actually ahead of their schedule. And we, the one thing was the monitoring wells. I mean, the monitoring wells and the caps and the locks. So basically, I've been out there in the snow, schmucking through the snow, getting all the monitoring well covers and locks. There were never any proper locks on any of those. And then the covers, some of them, the covers were missing. So I had to replace the missing covers, put locks on them, took pictures of them, had to send them pictures, they didn't have a system to accept we had to invent a system down there for them. So then I sent them in hard copies today. So we followed everything through. So I mean, we got to look at it. I mean, be nice to them, get everything done, get through this, and then go from there. Because you can't give up the revenue that comes through there. I mean, it's 20 to 25,000 a year.
And that's from people that's from
Using the pits.
trucks
Yeah.
dumping
Yeah,
their waste.
into the pits.
So
So now they
Stearns, Herrings, and
Yeah,
JVC.
takes that, the only 3.
Yeah, and Stearns was by far the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, it's I only see a small portion of what he does a year.
Yeah.
He does about 10 to 11 million gallons, so I
Yeah,
only
and we're seeing what, 200,000.
150,000, mostly homes in the area.
Yeah.
Hey, John, it looked like there was a pretty significant increase from 2021 to 2022. Any idea why that happened?
Because of, we had both Mascoma and then Cardigan. And now the state's not gonna allow them to bring that in anymore. So I have to get together with Tim and tell him what's going on. And it's bad for Tim because he's replacing his whole septic system up there. They did their septic system improvement back 10 years ago. And actually, the state gave them $3 million to upgrade their septic system. And to do that,
Jennings, right?
yes, exactly. Yeah, Cardigan. So to do that, there's going to be a lot of work up there and he won't be able to bring it in anymore. He's going to have to either go to Plymouth or go to Lebanon. And it's quite a bit up there. I mean, in terms of septage, there's probably 40,000 gallons of septage of clear super natant, the post septage material. There's probably 80 to 100,000 gallons up there.
So what's the state's reasoning why we can't accept it now?
They say it's non-domestic. That's what they're coming up with.
Even though it's in Canaan.
Yeah, it's in, well, that's they don't want to differentiate. It's non-domestic. So they're kind of holding my feet to the fire on that domestic issue.
What does that mean?
Well, that's, it's in the permits. I mean, it's one little codicil in the permit. It's one basic word section that says domestic only.
And domestic means?
Household,
I
exactly.
understood.
So that's how they want to deal with it. So they don't
When you
want,
said domestic, I thought the town.
oh, yeah, well,
Right, so
no,
we're
that's the,
talking
yeah,
household as opposed to
exactly. So,
Facilities
yeah,
and businesses.
yeah,
All right,
so.
interesting.
So how do you separate that in town?
Well, that's the thing. We're gonna have to, the school and the 3 or 4 restaurants that we have are gonna have to go away either to Lebanon or Plymouth. So I have to make
So-
arrangements with both those places so that we'll have to transport those. And we'll have to deal with that. That's
Wheels have to train.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna. I would say exactly. This
And
is,
it takes away the revenue.
no, there's no revenue generated from anything that I do in town.
Oh, because we're doing that.
Exactly,
already,
yeah.
and we're not gonna have
Yeah.
to start doing.
It's gonna cost us
Right.
time, exactly. It's gonna
Yeah,
cost,
we're gonna have to pay
pay
the
for
rent.
disposal, yeah, exactly. So just,
When does this permit get renewed?
you know, when he was renewed.
Can we just adjust it?
No, I know, that's the thing. We'll get through this, get through the next spring, and then come back to them and ask them about domestic. Because they went and sampled all around the state. And then they didn't find anything here, but they found in other schools, they found high levels of PFAS in the schools and high levels of PFAS in all the restaurants and kitchens, because you're using it. I mean, anytime that you're cleaning a grill or you're doing work, you're getting PFAS that's going down the drain.
So
It's
what's
a great-
different with Lebanon and Plymouth that they can take them? What's
Well,
the
that's
system different?
the $25,000 question. It's they're not set up to do it. It's gonna end up in their waste, much like it ends up in our waste. So, I mean, this is
So
really
when is that
gonna,
gonna start?
it starts in 23.
So January.
It'll be January 1st, yes, yeah.
So
well,
we're
with
gonna
the-
have to start paying
yeah,
to haul this.
Exactly, that'll be, in terms of the school, would probably be the next 2 times I pump it, so it would probably be March. And then probably March and May.
Who collects the revenue from us paying?
Well, that's the thing.
Are we paying the
That's-
city of Lebanon? I
Yeah, we're
mean,
gonna pay that, we'll have to pay the city of Lebanon,
right,
that's the
so
thing.
Lebanon, because of a state regulation, Lebanon is now gonna make money off the town of Canaan.
So, I mean,
Right.
that's,
But it'll
yeah,
be the difference, it'll be the difference of what they're paying right now. Like. Correct? I mean, they're paying us for sewage right now. We're just gonna,
but the thing
subtract
is,
that amount.
we've never paid for it before, it was free to go into my pits. Now
yeah,
we're
but
gonna,
we charge the school system for it.
no, it's part of my water and wastewater bill. Part of the water and
Right.
sewer bill.
Correct. So, but
So-
you're getting money.
Yeah, you get generation, man, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, but it increased cost, it'll be increased cost as we go forward for the restaurants and the schools. So,
Has that been taken into account?
I mean, I'll have to put a budget, we talked about it this morning. Put a budget together and say, hey, what's it gonna look, I can give him numbers, because I know exactly when we pump them and how often we pump them. So that's the thing.
So will the local business be charged?
Well, that's the thing that we have to really look at, because that's not the way we're set up in our water and sewer. We'd have to basically go and redesign the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's,
And those rates that the state made us put in included those businesses.
exactly,
So,
Ex-
yeah. So
yeah,
the state
that's-
doesn't- One department doesn't know what the other.
this hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. That's the thing. It's,
Nice.
and there's 4 or 5 of them that are doing this, and it's like, to deal with them, you don't know which one you're talking to and which one has an agenda. I mean,
Are there any other towns that you know of that?
we're unique because of the system that we have. Because we have septic tanks. And we're cleaning the septic tanks and we're treating the supernatant that comes after the septic tanks.
As far as
Yeah,
individual.
individuals that it goes down the street to the pump station, it's pumped up to my lagoons.
Yeah, that just means they can identify where it's coming from. That's not fair. to
Well,
us.
they still haven't, Stephen, that's been the problem. I mean, you're gonna find it everywhere,
Yeah,
Because it all goes in the same pipe.
exactly, yeah.
Ally?
Yes, I'm sure you can't answer this question, but an awful lot of businesses in town have apartments in them. And I assume they have only one septic tank. So does that mean if you have some residential?
It's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm just trying to think, four of the restaurants have residential in them, so how do you differentiate?
So food bar is all apartments upstairs, you've got the Chinese.
We need some help from our new state rep.
Yeah, that's exactly, I agree with you, Stephen.
Well, can we modify our permit with the state?
No, we can clarify.
There's no apartments. Oh,
That's a good point,
there's no-
Ellie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And then Papazi's the same way, or I mean, Jake's,
Right.
Yeah, there's
there's 4 apartments or 3 apartments.
businesses. that, you know. So what is the route to a solution on that?
Well, I think what we do is we get through next spring. And we complete this whole process and then go back to them nicely, because I mean, then they'll come back and
Yeah,
drop the
I
hammer
understand.
on us.
Can't go in there with a
Yeah,
iron fist.
yeah, exactly.
But we have to go in with something.
Yeah.
We can't go in with a glass fist either.
Exactly. Well, I think Stephen's point is good, because we get other people to work with us too. I mean, it's being dictated to us, but we had no feedback from them. They should have come to us first and say, what can you do for us here?
That's the way they've always.
I understand it's hard. I mean, it's so.
Their old buddy did that.
What's that? It's Gorenka, yeah, it's Gorenka doll.
Came in flashing a badge. They did, oh, that's exactly what they do.
He still talks about Canaan.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's the list of things that we should all be concerned about.
But I mean, I think what we should do is in the spring, I'll come back and then we'll get it all updated. Then we'll look at it long term. I mean,
And we'll go to it with our state rep. and
Yeah.
The other communities.
once it gets out there that
Same.
it's 4 or 5 of this group and down there, the minute they get heat put on them, then suddenly they'll separate and guard their jobs, as I say.
All right, thanks. John.
Keep us updated, please.
Yeah, no, I will,
I'm curious
certainly will.
what
Yeah.
goes on with this.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll be curious as to what kind of money. was spent.
Well, that's what we have to put it together. I mean, I haven't,
Once you get a couple,
Yeah.
few months into this.
exactly,
Let
yeah.
us know what kind of money we're spending to get rid of this stuff.
And another thing, where does Cardigan and where do the other places go? Mascoma is a good example. They have 30,000-40,000 gallons of septic there. Their costs are gonna almost double or triple. Until,
Which.
and that's it, here,
which
we're
will
gonna pay
increase their
for it.
budget, Which will increase our taxes.
Exactly, so I mean,
So this
that's,
is stuff that every resident in Canaan should be paying attention.
yeah,
to,
so,
Because we're all, including myself, want to know what we do about taxes, right? So I was talking with Ned about, there's a bunch of little things that we can do, and then there's big things like this. So I think it is, right, our district rep and
County commission.
But this wasn't- over the water and sewer users, this doesn't fall on the taxpayers, does it?
it doesn't, but the problem is it's gonna increase our cost.
right, if Mascoma School has to pay more or pay to get rid of their septic, they're gonna up their budget, which comes out of my wallet. So, yes.
Like Mascoma and, Cardigan, is there a way to have a separate septic tank for the kitchen? And the PFAS waste, because Cardigan, a lot of that property is considered residential because we don't tax the dormitories. So is that like a feasible thing to do, is to separate the kitchen? Septic from the rest of it?
Well, all that's we're gonna have
Yeah,
to discuss later. Yeah.
There's pretty absorbent costs associated with doing that too, I would think. So it's gotta come out of somebody's wallet, and it's coming out of yours and mine. So. Yeah,
All right, any other questions on that?
yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
That's David.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Stephen.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so now we're moving on to other business. First thing we've got is water sewer fees abatement for 29 and 118.
Yes,
And that is for what?
it is for, I'll make the long story short, prior town administrator informed a prior resident of town of their final reading. The final reading being $51 and some odd cents. The actual reading was $330.93.
Okay.
We have a request to abate that by $279.57.
We should send a bill to the former town manager for the remainder amount.
Administrator.
Yeah, well, yes.
Thank you.
Right, you Stephen, that's for the police car statement. Yeah. So long and short of it is, he told them a wrong number,
And they have the property
and now they're
closed.
calling us.
Yeah, within a week. It wasn't whether it was through a month or
Yeah,
it was within a week of the closing, because it was a week before I read it. October 1st, they
Gotcha.
closed like September 24th. And it was a week, so there's no way that they could have used $279 in that short period.
so we can also check for, I have the, yeah, you need to sign this one.
Yeah,
We also do need a motion to say.
yeah,
For the abatement?
I'll make a motion and call it.
yeah, I will,
Second,
yeah, I'll second it.
all in favor?
All right.
Thank you. I
One more reason,
Yeah,
I personally am smiling, he's not sitting in that chair.
bit of a bitter pill.
The amount of things we're gonna find like this is gonna be scary. Tell you that, it's already happened.
Are there people to talk about the solar here? I don't see them. Oh,
Well, we have an interest,
Oh,
but we didn't
interest.
bring the petition, but.
oh,
So,
Just on an update, they sent us all, I think they sent us all a letter stating they took wind out of the proposal.
okay.
So it was just so.
And they changed it to personal use only, not,
They excluded commercial.
no, I think they said residential use only.
right, okay.
And because I think that was one of the key things that us as a board was talking about last time, is we need to somehow clarify it, so it's residential use only.
Yeah, okay,
All right,
good. So it'll go forward as a warrant article.
yeah, well, they have the 25 signatures.
Yeah,
I
we have,
mean, if they have 25 signatures, we can't stop it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So,
And anybody can do that. Excuse me.
The only thing that the board can do is vote whether they support or don't support and provide an analysis that shows the tax impact to the remaining citizens of the community.
Whether it requires additional taxation or not.
Yeah.
And whether we support the article. or not. But if you, any resident here, if you get 25 signatures on something, then that can be put forward as a warrant article.
And let's do on January 10th, right? One article.
the January 10th,
It's something like that. It's
yeah, you might want to put that out as an announcement.
sooner rather than later,
What's
yes.
that on Friday?
Because you gotta get your nonprofits submitting theirs.
They're all here already.
They are.
I called them all to say,
Yeah,
and there were a couple who
Dave Salone put out a note that from West Central that they had their 25 signatures, so I was curious if they submitted it now.
yes, they have.
Okay,
Yeah, they have to be residents and they have to be registered voters.
so Vicky okayed all the signatures?
Yes, they were a couple short initially, and then they
Okay,
came up with the extra 7 or 8 that they needed.
okay.
All right, so what else do we have for other business?
Mr. Giraldi, come forward, please. Right there would be perfect. Thank you.
Want me to use the mic?
You're already mic'd up. Pick it up from anywhere in the room. Yep. Yeah.
Basically, I have a beef with the town of Canaan for about 30 years. And I've been extremely happy with the board and the way they've run town. This is an isolated thing that I hope we can cure, but it's gonna be a little difficult. The property I'm living on has been in my wife's family for over 100 years. It's never been surveyed, the deed has never changed. And every few years, I don't know whether it's, I think it's the assessing people, because I don't think the town would do it. Since we've had assessors, they've changed my boundary and billed me for road frontage that I've never owned. I go back and forth. I get it squared away. I provided all kinds of maps and everything indicating what's going on. I've got years of information here for you. I get receipts from the town assessor, the maps I give her. And
the answers I got back in most cases, well, you got to survey it. I said, who authorized changing it? I used to be a selectman. I've been an assessor. In fact, I work with assessors right now. Because I was an assessor, I was a real estate broker, still am. Insurance broker, I do financial planning. I work with the state board of assessors on their appeal board years ago. I'm familiar with the process. The process is, I was a selectman for years. And the process is, if you got a piece of property here on the town records and a change comes through, or you add land to it or divide it or whatever, it comes through the registry of deeds, or if I have my property surveyed and I record a survey with the registry of deeds, you get them and you adjust your lines and so on and so forth. This has never happened. Somebody just keeps changing my boundary. It first happened when my father-in-law died in the early 90s. My mother-in-law lost his veterans exemption. She was only on Social Security, and they billed her for a view tax, which they had back then, because they said she had, well, who told you we had property that had a boundary on the road, on Stark Hill Road? Well, it just seemed like the best thing to do. And I work with Mike Sampson on it. I've done abatements, but many years I've never done anything. I thought it was put away and put to bed. And it's happened 9 or 10 times. If you look at some of this paperwork, I'll show you. A lot of it is old records and so on. I've had some people in the assessing department. I don't know the current assessor. I've had some good ones and I've helped them some. I gave the town a lot of maps in the past 5 years of properties I dealt with in real estate that have been surveyed that would help you. Not just my own property. Yeah, let me give you these maps that the town has that are not supposed to be for assessing. I don't know why they changed. That's my property there in Stark Hill.
Yeah.
This is my sister-in-law's in front, and there's no boundary on the road, and there never has been. There's never been anything sent to the registry of deeds to legally authorize a change of it.
Right, 57, that's where the house burned down, right?
That's my sister-in-law's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
We have a right of way into it.
Yeah.
We don't have road frontage at all, and
I see, so where the mobile home caught on fire, where the manufactured.
you
home
know,
caught on fire,
we're further up the hill.
Further up past the
Yeah,
fire.
it was a regular small house that burned down.
This is this little piece right here.
Yeah.
This is our
Okay, so you're. Okay, all right, sorry, I'm looking at it on the wrong, got you, okay, so you're just before Kobe's.
Yeah. And my wife had a stroke this summer, and the stress of these type of things are getting to us. Here's some of the receipts. I didn't bring in. I got overs of information in the past. These are receipts that the maps I brought in showing and surveys of other properties that are joint ours. Ours doesn't really have to be surveyed because everything around it's been surveyed. But these are years of your tax sheets.
So that's a question I was gonna ask. Is this change? And understanding, I don't really know as much about it as you, right? I understand that. So that's why I ask questions so I can,
Okay.
right? So bear with me. Do the changes happen when property around you gets surveyed and that property gets updated to find a more accurate lot for it, which changes yours because yours
It
hasn't been surveyed?
generally happens when they do a new assessment.
So every 5 years.
Yeah.
Ned, did you have something?
Yeah, the configuration of Mr. Giraldi's lot has not changed. He has said we've changed it. It has not changed. The foot that it still comes to a very sharp point and I'll say touches the road, but gets close to the right of way.
Gotcha, which I can see that little,
Yeah,
that corner
that
right there
point.
must be where you're
Yeah.
talking, Ned, right?
It started, this is way back in
The only thing that it,
2002. There's no right of way name there or anything. That's when my father-in-law died, Clayton started. And I haven't got every year here because we tried to catch it, but a lot of years we wouldn't catch it. It's up to the town, just let it go. We paid the extra money We've never asked for a refund on it. I've done some abatements when I thought my assessment was too high. But I've never brought this issue up. And honestly, in fairness to you people, because I've been an assessor in the past. I don't know how you pin this down. Some clown out there is just, I know it's not the selectmen, it's just saying, this would be better if we put it this way.
And Ned, you're saying you've got with him,
The
and,
assessor,
and what you're telling us
Yes.
is the actual configuration of this gentleman's property hasn't changed.
not changed. The only thing
And-
that's changed is the assessors have said, added the word frontage. And I've spoken with Todd, it's made no difference to the value of his property.
And,
And I can
and,
confirm with Todd that it says no value change. The value is the value whether he touches or not.
and we kind of actually just went over this similar situation at the planning board. And I became aware that you actually can be taxed, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can be taxed into the road because your property actually goes into the road area. And generally, it's not taxed on that. It's taxed from a certain amount off the center of the road. And I was surprised to hear that. So
I'm not certain that's true. I know with,
I saw the-
with ponds, rivers and streams,
Hmm.
I have a number of apartment houses in Lebanon. I have 35 properties and this is the only time this has ever happened and I love Canaan.
Yeah.
But in Lebanon, we wanted to make some improvements one time and they said we didn't have enough land and the state said we owned to the middle of the Mascoma River there, flowing at the end of our property.
Because we were talking, that's how this actually came.
And
about,
that could be
because
included.
There was a brook going through it. So, but you're saying Todd has said that there are no physical changes to
No
his
physical-
property.
No,
That's not
physical-
it's the same deed description we had in 1943 and 1922.
And you're saying that you're now getting charged for road frontage? Is that? what
They
you're saying?
corrected it this year, but my concern is, how do we get rid of this? It's an emotional nightmare for my wife.
Right.
I told you my wife just had a stroke this summer.
Yeah.
And she does all the bookkeeping. We own a lot of properties
I
in
know.
Upper Valley.
Yeah.
And she can't handle it anymore.
So-
And I don't want to see those lose expressing.
So here's my thoughts on a statement that you just made. If it's been corrected this year,
Right,
that paperwork is what we should use going forward,
absolutely,
right?
but it's never happened.
Well, it hasn't happened in the past because it's never been corrected
Well,
properly.
we also have a new assessor who's
Right.
to be here, and she's young, who could be here for quite a while, so.
Yeah. We have another assessing clerk.
Most of the assessors I've worked with, but I've helped a lot of them on correcting boundaries, because when I was in real estate big time, I always try to provide the town with the information free of charge.
So am I correct in what you're telling me is this was things that were happening in the past? And you're concerned about it happening again in the future, but
Right.
as of right now, it stands corrected.
But my thought in this, and it's a thought pattern, it's not totally accurate, I don't have anything to back it up, is the assessor's doing a good job, probably. But there's a lot of properties in town. And I've seen others where this has happened. When I was a selectman at Grafton, they were taxing 7 properties that didn't exist.
Right.
And mostly elderly people most people scream and holler about their assessments. But they don't do anything about it, and they don't know how.
Right. I agree with that.
And this was a lot of old people, and some of it is still being assessed. It doesn't exist.
But my question is, right, it's been corrected as of now, when you stand here in front of me.
But how does the tax assessor know if your assessors out there in the field do this? Who changes this map?
That's,
Nobody changes the map.
The map, I've got maps.
Map never changes, never, the assessors do not.
I'll bring
change
you in
maps.
3 maps showing changes in the past 5 to 10 years.
Very good, bring them in, but I can assure
I
you,
gave them to Mike Sampson about 3 months ago.
Like
Okay.
Sampson's
In the
not
town.
not here, but
I know that, but I
And
gave
for
them
good
to him.
reason.
Supposed to stay with the town.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, look at this one.
I'm with you,
Look at
don't
this
get me
map.
wrong, I'm not being argumentative,
Yeah,
I'm
look
just
at-
trying to come
look
to the
at the-
bottom. of it.
Exactly. And see how it disagrees. So right there, there's a
well, I
change.
get to the map right in town. where it's-
Right, it's right there in the
Right.
town office.
Yeah.
When I came in here to find my assessment this spring, it was changed.
It shows different than that,
Yeah.
is what you're telling me.
This is what the. $202.
And what's the difference I should look for on here?
They're showing me is only always the yellow and the.
And there are actually two different deeds for that land?
Sir, that's my
Sister-in-law.
my sister-in-law.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was surveyed too, by the way.
Yep.
And we've had right of ways in there for years. If you go through these sheets, you'll see where they disappear, they come back. They
Right, that's the
disappear,
right of way.
They come back.
Yep, yep,
This is his corner.
right. Yep, which is right here. Yep,
A right of way.
I was gonna take.
So if you can help me, if you can't help me, it's gonna become a legal matter.
Well, we'll let somebody,
And you guys don't want to,
we'll go in and talk with, Ashley.
yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry to bother everybody with my little
Well,
project.
that's what these meetings are for. So we appreciate, I mean,
Okay,
so I don't know if that's a non-public session or not. Guy, so yeah. I guess, Guy, did you have some updates that you can provide us on the transfer station stuff, right? Yeah, okay, so, basically, where we're at is I am still, thank you, have a good evening, thank you. I am still kind of chugging away at the transfer station debacle that we have, and the board as a whole is getting involved and working on this. And, Stephen has asked for some numbers, and I've asked for some numbers and information. And part of what I've asked is for Guy, our town mechanic, discussion that we had, which kind of prompted this, was he was letting me know how much time it's gonna take to work on that new trailer that we got.
Correct.
So,
New to us trailer.
Yeah, new to us.
New to us, yeah.
The debacle of a trailer that we got. So I guess, Guy, you've got some timeframes and some estimates on what it's gonna take and where you're at.
Our new /used trailer. We have the material to put the top on it. We're gonna have several $1,000s in materials, upfitting the rear door to fit the compactor. That one will be, and then that one will be usable. The problem is with our current breakdowns, this trailer, we're gonna have to be committed to for up to 2 weeks to get it upfitted and usable. So the challenge we're having right now is the fact that I don't have my own personal bay in the highway department. We're having to keep the trucks inside at night so they don't freeze up. So we're gonna be shuffling stuff in and out. It's very doable. We just need to make a decision.
So basically, a couple weeks worth of dedicated. So this is
Correct.
kind of the conversation we had earlier in the evening, was say you take that 2 weeks worth of time and you split that up between, there's constantly and understandable, it's the season we're in, but we've got at least one breakdown a day in the highway department as it is.
Right.
So we could be talking a month and a half or so anyway, right? Anyway,
If not, a month.
if not 2 months,
Right.
before we just get the top on and the door upgrade,
Correct.
Right.
right?
Correct.
And that's just that one trailer.
Yes.
And then you just let me know earlier, let us know that the current trailer that is being used has got still the lift axle
Yes.
Is-
The axle is inoperative.
inoperative.
Potentially may need the whole lift that axle assembly. We're looking at $7,000 to $10,000 on that.
Yeah,
We also, I found out it's not inspected right at the moment. So those are things we're gonna have to address to get it through inspection.
and that gets 2 trailers. So they will go down the road at least for 1 day.
Correct.
And then the truck that's towing those trailers,
The truck
your
is,
opinion on that?
it's in fair condition.
Mhm.
It needs 4 tires on it.
Okay,
Right now, everything is mechanical, but it's a 1,000,000-mile truck, so. No issues at the moment mechanically, so.
good news. Yeah,
One quick point to supplement what Guy is saying. At even of just our basic labor rate, that's approximately the 2 weeks, just the labor, not equipment time, just time. Approximately $3,000,
Right.
so,
Right,
He
so we're,
can't do it all himself for that heavy stuff.
no,
So,
I,
that-
So,
Yeah,
so
but
we're
I'm
gonna
just saying
have-
that's the fairest minimum charge is that. It's clearly
So-
gonna be more.
yeah, and then 4 tires. I mean, what do we got there? $2,000?
Yeah.
Yep. Um,
Now, on that third axle, that trailer doesn't haul that amount of weight, so instead of putting $10,000 into a third axle, that could be chopped off and
Yeah,
Wrong
potentially
phone.
we could remove it, yeah,
thrown to the wayside.
yes,
Good.
good point.
What kind of weight are we hauling?
22 tons, 23 tons.
And that's what we're actually hauling now, because when I pulled the scale slips on that, we were hauling 7 to 8 tons.
Not
That
on
same
that one.
truck
That's
was-
a recycle trailer.
Okay,
They were
you-
pulling that.
Yeah,
Average roughly, it's around 22 to 24.
What would be the cost of cutting off the third axle?
Set of torches,
What's that?
set of torches.
How much time?
2 days.
No, 2 days would be about, let's just say $500, something like that.
so I guess that's more of an immediate fix than, or just leave it chained up like it is, right?
You don't wanna leave it chained up.
No,
It's an accident waiting to happen.
I don't think they'll.
Yeah, I don't think they'll put a sticker on it.
Yeah,
Gotcha, but they'll put a sticker on a truck that's supposed to have 3 axles with only 2? I
I
don't
don't
know, I'm
think-
asking. I mean, the
Yeah,
truck was
so the
manufactured.
butcher axle is an option.
Yeah,
That's an accessory.
it's
Right,
something that's been
Yeah.
added on to it.
okay, yeah. I just don't want us to go through the thing,
Yeah, we
cutting it
do.
off and then find out that we can't get a sticker on
Right,
it anyway.
now, we do have to do some work on the rear door. So that JR can get it closed.
Right.
It has
Because
an
the
in and
hinges
outer
from-
door, we're gonna have
That's the
to,
old trail, right?
yes, that's the
The
track.
trash trailer, yeah.
So we have significant repairs.
Yeah.
To do.
And you've got all kinds of time to do it. And space. Yeah,
Correct.
I'm with you.
So what's the top dollar that's gonna go into that altogether? Has anyone got a rough estimate?
Well, that's what we're working on doing.
Got it right there.
Yeah.
Yep,
Numbers
so,
that he's just given us.
and from what I understand, and this has nothing to do with guys' information you've given us, but I am under the understanding that we're spending around $20,000 a month for other people to haul our trash right now because our equipment's all broken and doesn't work and isn't designed to go on the Rams that we have. Is that right or wrong?
no, the transfer station as a whole, over a year, is about $250,000. It's about, that's why I gave you the 20,000 a month
Mhm,
to operate the transfer station. People
understood,
hauling it away
Okay.
is included in that 20, but it's personnel,
understood.
machinery.
We've been spending an extra $600 to $900 a week to haul the recycling down
Yes,
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Yep, okay,
since September when we bought the trailer or when it broke down.
yes.
Bob, Guy, did you have was there any other stuff sweet stuff that we should know there?
That's it for the mechanical stuff.
So low ball about $7,000 between labor, the door and the 4 tires.
Yes.
Okay. And then cutting off the axle. Okay.
And Bob, did you have any info on?
Yeah, I was asked to find out roughly what the values were on those. The newest trailer,
Which is the trash trailer, Bob?
I believe it is a trash trailer.
Latest acquired or new
Yeah.
date?
The latest acquired.
No,
That's,
that's the recycling that we're talking about repairing that we use, sorry.
I believe I wouldn't buy the registrations, so we got a 2007 Mac, that can be worth. Depending on the condition, sight unseen can be anywhere between $5,000 and $30,000. $30,000 being like brand new, and we know ours is not.
yeah.
The 2005, which I believe is a spec. And that was even less, we're pushing 20. And the 89 and the 2000, I was told to just take them to the junkyard.
Is there any scrap value?
Whatever the market offers. Take the tires off so you don't get hit with those.
And which one of those is the steel trailer we just bought for 17 grand?
Well, I
The
believe that's
2000?
probably the newer one, the 2007.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's worth right about what we paid for, pretty much at the most, but the 89 and the 2000. Nobody was giving me any value. They said the price is scrap. And I talked to a couple dealers. And that's what they said, especially sight unseen. And, you know, they asked the conditions, you know, and I said, you know, they've been worked and whatnot. And,
So
And what about the truck?
I checked on truck paper, just looking around all the states and trucks similar to that, what they're going for. You mean tractor or roll off?
The tractor truck we have right now that we're using.
Yeah, that's probably worth 10 grand tops. Tops.
So do we have any idea?
And Stephen had asked, you had asked about roll-offs, so
Right.
roll-offs, if you wanna buy a roll-off. Boxes are anywhere between $2,000 to $8,000. Going used to new. If you're looking at a new roll-off, you're looking at anywhere between $370,000 for a brand new truck. If you're looking at used, depending on what you wanna pay, anywhere from $20,000 to $200,000. The more money, the more miles. So a good looking road ready $200,000 roll-off will have about 500,000 miles on it.
I'd be curious what Grafton paid for that one down there.
But you gotta understand, the market has totally changed.
Oh, I get it.
They paid 25,000.
How much?
25,000. They bought it from Charlestown.
Yeah.
It was one of these deals where Charleston traded it in and they bought it directly from them.
So
We had talked to them about sharing it at one point.
I remember, and that
And
was
we,
an option.
yeah,
on the
that
board,
was an
right?
option. They're only using it once every 2 weeks.
Do you think that's even something that would still
You'd
be
have
running?
to, you'd have to approach them, I think. That's,
You're in a tough spot, I guess you gotta kind of look at your revenue. What are you making on that transfer station to justify these repairs and these costs? I mean,
Nothing the way it's designed,
That's huge, you know.
right?
Typically in the trash world, if you don't make money on your transfer station, you should close it down.
Right, but
They're-
I guess
they're
I'd be
revenue-
curious,
They're great revenue for towns if
Right.
they're set up right. I mean, Lebanon's landfill puts $1 million plus back into their budget.
I guess,
So it's just, you know, I
So
mean,
what's the option? Private pickup?
you could do private pickup. Yeah, then you don't have, you can wash your hands of it.
Yeah,
You know,
we've looked into that.
I don't think you jump right into it. I think you look at what somebody offers and see if they can offer it within what your operating costs are now or less. You definitely don't want to pay more. I mean, I think between the collective group of us, we can probably figure out a way to make this move forward in a positive direction.
I was behind a private pickup truck the other day, and when it was windy. And so they're picking up recyclables and picking up trash in the plastic barrels they provide. They're all in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Right, yeah, no, they don't. Are you talking about like a Casella or a private?
I wasn't gonna mention any names, but you did.
Well, because then there's just individual people that do stuff too.
Yeah, I know, this,
You know.
this was.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never seen a trash trailer used in the manner that we use them in, so I don't know why we got a roof and a lot of them come with tarps and a crank and you just roll the tarp out and you close it right up. And, you know, and they're designed for tipping floors. You back into a building, dump your trash, a little excavator skids here, picks it up, dumps it over the wall in it. I mean,
so that is, again, what I've been saying this whole time.
I think as far as maintenance and overall cost of owning it, I think roll-offs is a more cost-effective way to go. I mean, you can replace a roll-off box a whole lot cheaper than you can replace a live bottom floor.
Yeah,
It's
we
just the
could buy-
initial fee you're talking is gonna
We
be.
could have bought two.
Well, I think your
brand new
initial fee
roll-offs.
really is gonna be in the roll-off
In the truck.
and the truck itself. Cause the boxes are cheap, but like if you go buy a used tractor for 25 grand, it's gonna have 500,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
But you're still hauling used iron down the road, that require a lot of maintenance, especially the distance that we're traveling. I think if we're gonna stay in it, we need to look at a vendor to come. And maybe spend a little bit of money on buying an appropriate baler to bale our commodities and we load their trailers and they haul it away. We don't truck anymore, other than to Lebanon.
No, we still have 2 balers, but that's what.
Even they're small.
Yeah.
They're really small. You need one that's gonna pump out like a 5 by 3 by 3,000 pound bale.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some options we can look at but I don't think the direction we're heading in is right.
Can I just ask a question? I don't expect an answer because we don't have an engineer here, but just out of curiosity. Since Bob brought it up, if we did go to private pickup, we wouldn't have to go across that bridge anymore. Right? Would that increase the life of that bridge?
I don't think our trucks run, I don't think the trash truck is affecting that.
The septic truck's still gonna have to go over it,
The highway.
highway truck.
If you did a private hauler and he did it someplace other than there, well, that's less travel on the bridge, so you would expand the life of that bridge, so to speak. Oh, we still have to maintain it. He's over there and my stuff is over there.
They wouldn't travel. The prime pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, Enfield still spends money because a lot of people don't use it. They go to the transfer station.
I think Enfield, they used to be contracted by the seller to do the door to
Yeah,
door service.
they still do it.
Yeah.
They're open, like, I think the field station's open like 1 day, 1 or 2 days a week. Saturday and Sunday, I think.
So numbers for each option.
Something like.
I got a guy from Hale Trailers gonna get back with me tomorrow and I'm gonna send him some pictures. He's a good resource. He's out of Springfield, Mass. He worked for Waste Management for a long time in the refuge end of things. So he understands those trailers really well.
Scott, what are you thinking as far as, so we can dial in,
Look, I'm not opposed to changing if that's gonna be the best thing.
right?
I just like to see.
What numbers are you looking at? Cause I'll get working on it too. Do you want what it costs for roll off?
Yeah, I'd like to know
What
what
it costs for a truck
Yeah.
and then what it would cost to repair and,
Now, do we have a contract?
cause we kind of just
for the
got those.
recyclables?
I will check on the contract.
Cause I was told at one point in time that we have. So much recyclables have to go to Portland, or wherever the hell it goes.
And then that's.
I
the
don't
other
think,
side of
I
it
mean,
too.
I know trash is a. Trash has always been like a shed, like your trash has to go to certain, like Windsor, Vermont.
Yeah.
Their trash, if you haul it, has to go to Newport, New Hampshire. It cannot go to Lebanon.
Yeah.
But
So just check.
I don't know
on
about
that.
the recycling.
But
Echo Maine, there is a contract, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in South Portland.
Is that a contract they willingly signed or? were you
I'm not
forced
sure how
to sign it?
there's the deliverables that go along with it.
I think at the time they were the best paying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the thing is, we had to supply them with it. That was the thing.
right, you gotta bring it
It's
to
almost
them.
like chips kind of contract.
Yeah, so I mean, what's it cost you running to there? Is it?
if.
I don't.
Maybe worth doing if the long-term effects are best.
Right, well, cost,
Right.
right, and then, so I guess what do you want? And I'll get working on it.
I just like to see numbers in paper
Yeah.
instead of just. throwing it on.
Because we're gonna have to replace the compactors too, to change it over as well, so.
So there's another avenue, Hale Trailers, I talked with the guy about if you guys are dead set on staying with the trailers, they do leases. Where they maintain it and they're.
Yeah, but the trailers aren't even designed, when we get
Well,
the
that's-
trailers, we have to
right,
modify.
right,
those
you won't be able
trailers
to do
work
that.
On these compactors.
You won't be able to do that.
So as
That's
far as
just not-
replacing the compactors, we need to replace the contractors if we stay with this system. Now, let me start, our compactors are gonna need to be replaced at some point pretty soon anyway, because that's what JR was explaining to us. The things are decades and decades old.
But
But they're designed to work with roll-off containers, not with these trailers. So if we had roll-off containers, I have to think that it would be better on these old compactors. Because right now, these compactors, a lot of times are pushing against the metal on the door because the doors are having to be reconstructed. And it's not aligned quite right, and I know that when Mike and I actually had a moment of zen that we were getting along. He was explaining to me part of the problem over there was that there was a 3-inch discrepancy and the compactor was pushing on the door,
So,
right? So that can't be good for a 30 or 40-year-old compactor
and just so you know, they do not make a compactor.
to push these trailers.
Well, these, because the
Right.
trailers aren't designed for that.
Right.
What they call tipping trailers, trailers that have a door designed to have a ram system that runs in there about 20 feet.
Hmm.
Those get hauled to a landfill, they're backed onto a trailer, the tractor is dismounted from it.
Right.
This machine platform picks it up and dumps it,
Right.
but not the manner that we're using the trailer in.
All right,
Just keep in mind that if you're gonna be making those kind of changes, that means completely revamping the transfer station, because you're not gonna buy a roll off and back up to those compacts.
Well,
That's correct.
I do have that in mind, and we completely revamped it to put in place a system that doesn't work, so why wouldn't we consider completely
But what I'm
revamping?
saying is you have to make sure that you're gonna take that all into consideration.
And in my opinion, I do, right? I've thought of that and I've talked about it with everybody, Hugh, John, Bob, JR, all of these guys, and I understand that, and I think it needs to be reconfigured, even if we stay with this system, because the traffic pattern over there is a mess. It's from what I've agreed with the conversations I had, it's dangerous over there. You're up here, you're down here, you've got people above and below each other, working with equipment and cars when they come up onto that mound. And the traffic pattern has to cross each other to come in and out. It's just, it's a mess. And
I think NSDS will actually give you some layout patterns of smoothly functioning transfer facilities.
transfer station used to work pretty all right.
Yeah, the traffic used to go the other way. We used to go down
Right,
and take our regular track, it doesn't.
right, but it had,
And then we came around, we go up the hill.
right, and then back out.
So you come in and go to the right,
Exactly. And then
Just
come around,
left
but it had to
all the
be
way around?
reconfigured.
well, then you're staying in the correct lane of travel.
Exactly, but it had to be reconfigured so you had room to move those trailers around.
So you recycle and then take your trash down. So if you want people to recycle, it also encourages people to recycle, because you do that first, and it makes it a lot easier. And I've also had numerous occasions where people from recycling will pull out in front of me because they think they have the right of way, and they don't.
And a lot of things I say, I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of something, but I guess this isn't one of them. If I need to be argumentative, I will. The transfer station doesn't work. And we're throwing good money at bad stuff, over and over and over and over.
There's a lot of houses in those other towns out too.
That's something that I'm looking at too, Ellie, but I wanted to only put one iron in the fire at once, but it just doesn't work.
Hey, on Sunday, and that's one thing we get a lot of.
Yeah.
Sunday.
So you can get some more numbers on the guy, more concrete. A lot of them, I mean, I'm gonna send them pictures, because most of them, they're not, unless we're gonna buy a trailer, they're not gonna come look at our stuff.
look, like I said, I don't have an objection to changing things if we can make it more efficient. I
Yeah.
just like to see the numbers in a piece of paper instead of
Yeah.
just,
Right.
you know, spewing them out in a meeting.
Yeah.
So.
Agree.
Understood.
Steve,
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
all right,
Thank you, guys.
anything else under old,
I appreciate
other business? Do we have any non-public?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So if there's no, other business, then we need a motion to go into non-public.
I'll make a motion to go non-public.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Don, Bob, Ned, thanks for coming in. Guy.
Hail trailers, they have. It's hot. They got locations all over. And, where did I go? They got